Starting.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to From Salem with Love.
I'm Anna Campos. I own Circle Stitches in Salem, Massachusetts, and I'm here with my BFF.
I'm Jacob. I am Fiber Dreams by Jacob. Just changed it on TikTok, and on Instagram and TikTok, and Crochet by Jacob on Ravelry.
All right.
Yay!
Yeah, you've been having a lot of fun on TikTok and making me do TikToks. I'm not a very good TikToker. Sorry, y'all.
I have an idea that might be happening this afternoon. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and if you missed Ethel from our last TikTok collaboration, you definitely need to check that out. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, definitely post a link in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. It's on Instagram and TikTok, so you can go to either one. You don't have to be just one if you don't have the other.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
So, my fabulous friend, what are you wearing today?
So, I woke up a half an hour ago and decided it's just going to be a Maxim Cyr themed outfit day today. So, I am wearing the hide and peek hat.
Beautiful.
Which I'm not taking off my hat because I put it on when my hair was wet.
That's fine. So, I can see you've got some Malabrigo here. Is this Arroyo?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the sport way. So you've got the Plomo. I can know that's a Plomo colorway.
Mm-hmm.
What other yarns did
And
you
then I
use?
had all the rest are Brooklyn Tweed, I believe.
Oh yeah, it's Brooklyn Tweed Arbor. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I see that. So so we've got one Malabrigo and 3 colors of Brooklyn Tweed Arbor. So that looks really nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And that's when I found out that I love Arbor for color work. It's just so nice and structures so nicely.
Yep.
And was suggested actually by one of your employees, so that's a good thing.
Good job, team.
And then I'm wearing my Once in Floral sweater. This is definitely yarn less traveled, I believe.
Yeah, so you have less traveled 757 sock, and then you have Malabrigo sock in lettuce, and then Malabrigo sock in candombe.
Yep, and then I thought that I had a third color in there, but that
there?
blue one I don't remember which one it is. It's like a very, very slight, because I chose a little bit similar colors. Yeah. And then finishing up with my Maxim Cyr is my blizzard cowl, as I call it, but it is, the Snuggle is real. The thing is amazing if you are in the Antarctica or have to wait at the commuter rail when it's snowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you've got, so obviously this is like double thick, right? So that it can fit the cord through?
Yep.
Oh, and it's literally double thick.
It's double
knit.
Through the whole thing, so it's so warm.
Check that out.
And then it's seamed together at the end of it here. And then you do an I-cord little pulley cord right here. And then I loved it because it did do the mosaic knitting, kind of like the shift cowl. So I did this one before I did Jeremy's shift cowl.
Yeah, so it basically ends up being triple thick because you have the mosaic, which gives it straining on the back, which already makes it a thicker layer. And then you have the literal second layer in here. So super warm. Perfect for these horrible winds. I'm just gonna say to my friends,
so much.
To my friends in the tropics, I know you'll feel me because the wind chill the other day was minus 23 Celsius. So I don't know why I live here. It's terrible. Seriously, okay, I have this thing where like January and February every year, I'm like, why do I live here? And then I forget in the summer, but like it's.
And I mean, I think we all do.
Yeah. I'm not a rugged New Englander. Like I don't have that whole thing where I insist on wearing shorts all year round for some reason.
Can we talk about socks and sandals?
Sure. Let's talk about it.
No. I see too many. It's a thing. So, and it's not even like a small thing. It's like basketball shorts, socks and sandals.
You mean the Adam Sandler look?
Yeah, it'll be out. It'll be 0 degrees outside and I will see it. It'll be snowing. It'll be snow up to your knees and I'll see it.
Yeah, and what is it with New Englanders? Why do they do this thing where they all have a competition to see who holds out the longest before turning their heat on? And then people start getting, like, ice in their toilets? Like, what is wrong
How does that... How?
I don't... Because if your house is just unheated, I guess, I don't know.
What happens when you have to poo?
Listen, I don't know. I am Brazilian. As soon as it's cold, that heat is on. I don't know.
You just have, like, a little poo on top of the toilet. Okay.
Anyway, well, this has gone in a really unexpected direction. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, anyway, what weight of yarn is that? Getting back to...
It's in DK.
Okay, so this is also DK? Okay.
This is also DK.
Yeah, because this looks like Arbor again.
And this is Arbor. This is, one day, Jeremy had me going to a wedding with him when he was doing makeup in Vermont, and I went to Green Mountain Spinnery, and I
that's
checked
awesome.
out these guys.
Yeah.
And this is their kind of version of like the not variegated, spun.
Fractal.
Yeah, that's
Fractal
their
spun,
version
yeah.
of the fractal. So the front is one color, and then the back is a different one of their colorways.
That's awesome. Yeah, Green Mountain Spinnery is great.
Yeah.
Yay, local mills. So. All right.
Okay, and what were you wearing now that we've gotten out of frozen toilets?
Listen, you're the one who took it to a whole nother level.
You should know better. I work in healthcare. I always do things in a different, long, weird level.
That's true. Yes, that's true. You do have different boundaries of like squeamish being in healthcare. Anyway, so I'm only wearing one hand knit today. This is the Rivulet, Rivulet by Shannon Cook. And this is knit in Harrisville, Shetland. She originally designed it for Brooklyn Tweed Loft, but they're both like, woolen spun, fluffy, rustic yarns. And it's 4 skeins. And it's just a really pretty wave pattern. It's really like fun and meditative to knit. And I'm really bad at buttons ever, as you know. So there's actually a finishing touch to this that I never did, even though I finished this years ago, where she does like a couple little loops and buttons so that you can button it in place for like a really pretty like double wrap cowl thing. But I'm bad at attaching buttons, so I just wear it like this. Seriously, I'm so bad that my Descent cardigan, the only reason that it has buttons is because Kristen at Rhinebeck in 2019, whichever, 2018, I don't know, before the pandemic, like she actually took it from me and sewed all the buttons on for me.
Oh, good for her.
Because my Tinder, the one that you really like, which I finished like 6 years ago, like how it still doesn't have buttons.
I love it. My mom actually wants me to make that for her now.
So yeah, so that's my weakness. I just don't like attaching buttons. Like by that point, I'm just like done with the pattern. But anyway, so this is Rivulet by Shannon Cook. And I guess while I'm here, I'll give folks a little tip about working with Harrisville Shetland or other rustic yarns. You can wear them next to the skin, which I'm doing here. I'm actually really sensitive, but one thing that you can do when you're blocking the super scritchy rustic yarns is you actually dissolve some hair conditioner, like your own hair conditioner, in the water and let it stay in there. And then when it dries, it'll actually dry softer to the touch. So that's the thing that you can do to help it bloom and be softer.
Okay.
So.
I used to do it with just fabric softener.
Yeah, you can do fabric softener, but if you leave the hair conditioner in the water, you don't rinse it out or anything, so it dries in there and kind of softens. Yeah. Ooh. Because this is animal fiber, which we tend to forget. So
yeah,
so that's what we're up to.
All right.
And one thing that I wanted to show off that I've been forgetting to for a while. It's actually a solstice gift that I got from, Skinny Dipping, Christine, who dyes beautiful yarns. She actually made me a pair of pajama pants.
And they're adorable.
And they're super cute, and I keep forgetting to show them off, but I have to because cats and yarn. And little label. So, thanks, Christine. These are the best. I love when folks hand make things for me, since I'm usually the one making for other people, right? So, anyway, so we are now continuing our viewer questions.
Yes.
So, my first question for you is toe up or cuff down socks?
So, I would love to start. Actually, I might do that today when I get home. So, I struggle with socks in general, just finishing them. I am always on Sock Island, and there's always one that's halfway done, but that's just me. But I think I did one pair of socks that was cuffed down, and I liked it, but it was when I was relatively new at knitting, so I haven't tried it since then, so I haven't tried all the little parts for the heel there. And then the last couple of socks I've done have been toe up. I do like toe up, and I do like not having to seam the toe at the bottom, but I also think that I would like the challenge a little bit of the cuff down and the different parts and doing it a different way, so I'm undecided.
Okay. I'm very strongly in the toe up camp. I sort of don't get the argument for cuff down. I'm going to be honest. And I know that I'm going to ruffle some feathers with that. But with toe up, you can try them on and figure out when to turn the heel. And I know that if you're going cuff down, you can keep trying it on and see where to decrease the toe. But here's the thing. Once you turn the heel on the toe up, like you can literally be done at any point. You can just decide that you're bored, and you can end up with like little ankle socks, or you can go higher. But like if you're going cuff down and you get bored, you just get yoga socks. Like you cannot get bored and just be done halfway through that foot.
Like some type of weird ankle brace.
Right. So like I kind of don't get it, because like what's the point?
I don't know.
Tell us in the comments, because I know that other people feel strongly, but like I just legit don't get it. And also the good thing about toe up, if you're someone with larger feet, not my issue, because I wear like size 5.5 shoes, so I love knitting socks for myself. But you know, if you're someone who has to like be really careful with yardage, if you do toe up, if you do 2 at a time from the same ball, because you can pull from the inside and the outside, you can literally just knit both socks until you run out.
So I'm wondering, like, if the cuff down is, I don't know, because like when the last one that I knit cuff down, which again, this was when I was first starting, I feel like maybe they like it because of a structure difference, like with how you do the gusset and everything. I don't know.
Because I tend to do it the same way. So, I don't know. I guess this one's not my area of expertise. But
mine either.
Let us know. Why do you like cuff down? Why are you wrong?
And in case anyone had any questions that she might be a Virgo, there it is.
Yes, please. Thank you for joining us for this podcast where I'm going to just like antagonize you for no reason. Sweet. Anyway, so we got 2 other questions, and I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. They do. Right? And it's flat or in the round or seaming and no. And so I assume that this is for sweaters. Right? So how do you feel about it?
So, again, I have these things, like when we talk about knitting stuff, some of it I've never actually done. So I haven't done a sweater knit flat before. I actually know I'm starting one. I still have that the ash cardigan that I'm doing, but I messed up around of the lace, so I have to pull it back. So I don't mind it. I end up finding that when I do pieces flat, or when I do like sweaters flat, because I think I've tried a couple of them, I personally get a little bored. So, and I don't know why in the round versus flat it's different for me, that I don't get bored when I'm doing it in the round, but I get bored when I go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what it is psychologically, but I agree.
Like,
so I've definitely knit sweaters in the round. I have knit cardigans, you know, flat back and forth. I've knit sweaters flat in pieces and seamed them. So I've, you know, and I've also done cardigans in the round and stitched them. So I think I've done sort of like all the arrangements. I definitely prefer knitting in the round, and I was actually just realizing earlier today that I really have a lack of cardigans in my closet, like hand knit cardigans, but I don't like the really long rows of going like all the way around and back. So I prefer to steek my cardigans. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. I'm going to steek something.
Yeah, I think I want to learn how to steek.
No, I can teach you that.
I'm
actually teaching a steeking class for Vogue Knitting this week at some point.
But I think that's actually what the beauty of this podcast is that like we have you that have a lot more experience than I do with the certain things. So like we both look at things at different angles and look at things in different levels of experience, which makes it beneficial, I guess, to you all the viewers, because I'm going to have different opinions as I'm just learning it. And then Anna will have different opinions as like she has more experience with some of the other things. So I think
I'm also, you know, a Virgo who has a lot of opinions about everything. But so the thing with knitting a sweater in pieces, right, is that when knitting patterns were first being developed, people basically looked at sewing patterns, which already had a format, and then just went, well, we will just knit these pieces, right? And so you would basically end up with all the same pieces, like sleeves and everything to seam together. And then at some point, you know, we came to the realization that we don't need to do that, because you're knitting the fabric and you can just knit it into the shape, so you can just do it all in one piece. And so there's the argument that if you knit it in pieces and seam it, it has more structure, like at the seams, it's less likely to grow and whatnot. But it really depends on the fiber. So I have my Oda that I've worn on here before with the cables, and that was knit all in pieces and then seamed together. And my Tinder cardigan, and those are both Brooklyn Tweed patterns. And I've knit a Brooklyn Tweed shelter sweater, both like in the round with no seams and the pieced one. So the Oda is all pieced, but my Humulus is in the round with shelter. And I can tell you that, like, you know, that yarn doesn't really grow or stretch, so there's not really a structural issue. So I don't really think that there's an advantage to doing all the seaming. And I like seaming. Like, I also teach finishing classes, but if you're knitting like a sweater in alpaca, if you're knitting that in the round, like seamless, like, you know, if you start with like, you know, a waist height, for example, like, you know, over time, it's probably going to grow into like a tunic because alpaca just kind of does that. So if you're working with alpaca, having the seams is going to help keep it in place. So it really depends on the fiber, but if you're just working with like lamb's wool, you know, it doesn't need kind of as much like structural support. So anyway, so, you know, seamless top-down sweaters is pretty much like the fastest way to like bang out a sweater. So that gets my vote.
That gets mine too.
So there you go. So that's my rambling about that.
Oh, and we could also talk about the edges when doing those too, like whether they have a salvage edge or not too. But... yeah.
So I mean, so the salvage is, you know, like the stitch, like the one stitch that you have on either side, right? That gets folded into the seam, and generally you have a one stitch salvage, right? So like just a very like one full stitch on either edge. But when I did my Tinder, that was the first time that I did a half stitch selvage. So you're having to split the stitch in the middle. Oh. And that was not fun. I will admit that, especially because it's a raglan. So you have to do it on the diagonal here and get it to like...
Mom, you're not getting that sweater.
You know what? I actually have it over there. Hold on. Hold on.
My mom has literally been begging me since she saw the episode where Anna was wearing that sweater.
Yeah, so here's the sweater. So you can see this, right? It's a raglan, right? So this raglan here actually has a half stitch selvage right in the middle. So this middle stitch here, it's actually two halves from different pieces. So see how one leg is one color and one's another because it's variegated, right? So you have to be really careful about seaming it so that it actually lies like that and looks like a full stitch. And, you know, I'm a Virgo, so I worked really hard to get to do that, but it's finicky.
And it's so pretty though.
But yeah, so, you know, on the inside, generally you'll get two stitches side by side from the seam, but here you just get one full one because it's just half from one, half from the other. So, you know, but this is a superwash, so superwash does stretch a little more than non-superwash wool. So you know, and since this is such a long cardigan, I think that the seam does help a little bit in this case.
And it's so pretty.
So
pretty.
Mine, you can't have it.
Sorry,
Jacob's mom, you cannot have my sweater.
It would fit both of our arms.
So that's how I feel about that. Anyway.
So what are we talking about next?
We had a couple of things that are back in the store that wanted to share. Oh, actually, one of them before that. So this is back in the store. Actually, I guess this is anything that's back in stock. We were talking about Ash, and so Ash goes by Sunflower Knit, and one of the things that they make is an herbal knitter's joint salve. And since we were showing hand stretches next week, I wanted to let you folks know that this is back in stock, and it's actually amazing. Like if you get joint pain in your hands or like really anywhere when you're knitting, or even if it's like not knitting specific, this is amazing. And I mean that, like, you know, we got a little bit to try because I will admit I was kind of like, you know, how well is something like this going to work? And our customers loved it and they asked for more. So give it a try,
and the
especially
cool thing
in
with
winter.
Ash is that like everything that they make and everything they do themselves. Like it's not like products that are just being like bought. It's like
right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is definitely handmade by Ash in their home, and it's infused with a bunch of different herbs, you know, specifically to aid in like inflammation reduction. So
it's so cool.
So there's that. Also want to let you folks know that these cuties are back in stock, and Jacob might be stealing one. Yep. This one yours? Okay. So we have some, but those are back in stock. And the thing and the thing that I'm really excited about, because this is something that's been like an ongoing thing ever since Andrea Mowry had it in the back of her videos, and it was sad because like the original artisans who made this like stopped. But I found, oh god, how am I going to hold this up? But I found a new artisan studio based in Seattle that is woman-owned, woman-operated, and does handmade, beautiful hammered brass pieces. So now we have these moon garlands back. Thank you for helping me. And these are great because, you know, like they come with the little loop to hang, and it's on like shimmery gold thread. So now we have these. Yay!
I ran away. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You were helping me.
Yeah.
So Oh god, hold on. Now I'm gonna make a mess over here, but
That's fine.
so these are by Vida Ilus Studios in Seattle, and that means life and light.
And speaking of Seattle, sorry, before I forget to mention it, the cowl from last week, the Sitka single-sided cowl, is being released probably at the time of this episode will be aired, so on January 21st. So if you really love that cowl, go and support her because she's amazing, and that pattern is so fun to knit up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it gives you so many different skills that you'd be able to learn or just revisit, because I had known how to do baubles, and then when I went and did that, I feel like it was like an expert course on how to do baubles because there was just so many in color work too, which I had never done. So
yeah. And also, hi Jamie, thanks for watching our podcast and glad you like the color suggestions. And so one thing that you wanted to talk about next time was how to like join a new ball of yarn in a project.
So there were a couple things. The one that I haven't tried yet, but I really am interested in trying, is that I've seen some people, particularly on Instagram, like, I find all of the social media platforms are really good ways of learning new things that you wouldn't learn, have normally learned, unless, like, you're specifically looking for them. But one of the ways is that, well, it also goes with weaving ends a little bit, but sometimes when you have, like, a Bare Isle color work sweater and you join in a color at a random spot, there's not necessarily those parts where you can weave in the ends how you would normally to make a seam that's not viewable. You would actually just like kind of take the darning needle and go into the actual float strand of yarn and go back and forth a couple times with that, and then that kind of locks it in. Well, one of the methods that I had seen was kind of doing that with two of your ends of yarns that you're joining. So you'd have your one that you were working with, and then you'd have that strand of the color that you were going to be adding, and you would kind of weave it into the old strand and the new strand almost like you would one of your floats. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you have a strand and then like you kind of like weave it into like the plies, right? And so you turn it like you're basically like interlock them. Yeah. That's also something that people do when they're joining two different colors and they want them to like end at the same spot, where they'll actually curl them like this around each other and then weave backwards into so you get like a join there. I want to say it's called a Russian join, but don't hold me to that because I'm not positive.
And the other one that what I used to do, or some other ways that I've done it, is that you would kind of do like, they call it like a magic knot or something like that, where you'd take the yarn and you tie one of them going this way and one of them going that way, and you pull them. Oh,
a square knot? So
so you kind of pull them like this, and you do end up with two ends that way. But it kind of just like it's a securer method of doing it. And then I guess the way that I normally do, which is probably completely incorrect, but whatever, is that I'll go over like a series of 3 or 4 stitches, and I'll just take both of the yarns and I'll just do like 3 or 4 stitches knit
holding them
double,
both together like this,
both together, and then go like that, and then I'll weave my ends out that way.
No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's actually how I used to weave in my ends for a long time. You just lay one on top of the other and keep going, and it's really easy, and then you can kind of trim the ends back afterwards. The one thing that I don't like and why I changed it is that when you do that, you end up with a section that's kind of a little bit thicker because you have 2 strands there. And so the way that I do it, honestly, like, is kind of lazy, I guess, but I feel like it works really well. So literally I just knit until I'm about to run out. I leave a tail, and then I leave a tail for the next one, and I start. And so at the end, I just have like the 2 tails hanging and, a little hole. And then what I do is I duplicate stitch on the back side in both directions with both and trim. And so you actually end up with a really similar effect to what you're doing, but the difference is that because I'm doing a duplicate stitch, you have like the right facing side of the project, and then the duplicate stitch tucks in on the back, as opposed to if I hold them both together, you get that bulky look on the front. And so if you just duplicate stitch, the other piece of thread just hangs behind the work, so you don't get the bulkiness. And I
found with the way that I was doing it, or have done it, is that so I was starting.
Yeah, so the door was not locked properly, and the mailman just walked in.
Well, so with that method that I was talking about, I found that my problem with it, that is why I've been looking at readjusting how I join colors, is that on my very last one where I'm doing both of them together, I always notice that no matter how much I like either pull or do that last little thing of yarn, there's always like one stitch that's a little bit looser, and it drives me nuts. And I don't have any Virgo in my chart.
Yeah. You know, the other thing is a lot of people say that they only like to join yarns at the end of a row when you're knitting flat. And I actually find that to be the worst place, because then you end up, like, your edge doesn't end up clean because you never quite weave them in properly.
And I feel like that would make if you were doing a salvage stitch or some type of other stitch, it would make it looser on the edge.
Yeah, and so a lot of people like to do it that way, but here's why my Virgo-ness doesn't like doing it. Because if you think about how the last stitch of the row works, you're basically doing a teeny tiny crochet chain. So what do I mean by that? Because you're going to knit all the way to the end, you're going to work that stitch, and then you're going to turn it and you're going to work that stitch again. So you're chaining inside one stitch. So that's like a little two row crochet chain, right? And so imagine that you wouldn't do a crochet chain like changing your yarn every stitch, right? Because then you end up with these like tails hanging out that you're not going to be able to weave into the crochet chain nicely. And so that's why I hope that made sense, but that's why I don't like joining at the end. I'm always going to join in the middle of a row. I also maybe do it towards the edge if I want to hide it a little bit, but I'll never do it right at the end.
I join wherever it runs out.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tend to not be that picky about it, but if for some reason I needed to, but I would never do it right at the end because of that, because it's really hard to reconstruct that little crochet chain moment with two strands. So.
And especially if you're like working with a lace section, make sure you're planning out where you're gonna end your your join. Just because like if you're trying to join one on a yarn over, it's gonna be maybe a little difficult.
Yep. Yeah. You do have to be mindful with lace. So yeah. So that's our tips for today.
All right.
If you have any other questions for us, please drop them in the comments. We are having so much fun having discussions with all of you. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and we really do actually, we go off of your feedback a lot. We go off of what your questions are. We go off of everything that you want us to discuss about. We try to really focus on doing that for y'all. So,
where'd the glasses go?
I took them off because... I was seeing the glare and...
okay. I was like, wait, you're supposed to change glasses, not just take them off.
I know, but the glare, it was driving me nuts.
Fair enough. All right. Well, bye everyone. Until next time.
Done it. Is that,
Oh, sorry. We're actually in the middle of recording something.